Today's date is April 14, 2012. My name is Leslie Williams. I'm going to show you a tree right now, so you can see the formation of it, or what it looks like, and the stone that's right in front of it. Okay. I literally just got done making a video file at this location. I just stopped it. And what I did was when I went to go make it, when I began to make it, I taped all the verbal statements on this digital tape recorder. Okay? And you're going to hear those statements because I taped everything I was saying in reference to making the video on this digital tape recorder. And so I'm going to have to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and in the video, at the beginning of it, I made statements that we're going to see if the video won't take. And the reason why I mentioned that is because of the capabilities that are directly described in the remote neural monitoring file, PDF file you can find online by going to Google and typing in remote neural monitoring. It flat out says that they have the ability to infiltrate any device through RF filtering. And as a result, they're able to control and manipulate the internal functions of any device that emits a frequency. And I said, I even said on the video that the reason why I'm digitally tape recording everything I'm saying is because as a result of being a target of remote neural monitoring, they have literally, I go to make a video, then I go to stop the recording, and then I go to play it back, and the video's not even there. So that's why I've been starting to digitally tape record everything I say in a video, so I don't have to repeat everything I say in case they stop the video from actually being made, and they literally just did it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to literally transfer all the statements that I made to this video camera, and we're going to see if this one doesn't take. My name is Leslie Williams. Today's date is April 14, 2012. They did this literally just now at this hiking area in San Diego, California. And here it is right here. You're just going to see a picture of the video of the digital tape recorder, but that's not important as far as not being able to see me. What's important is what I'm saying. Listen closely. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm making a digital audio file now at this hiking location. I'm going to sim. So the reason why I'm saying that I'm making a digital audio file also with this video file. Hang on, I gotta put my hat on. Because it's cold. The reason why I'm making this video file today, and I'm making a digital tape recording of it, is to see if they use electronic harassment to either replace the verbal statements with electronic harassment, or we're going to see if they use the capabilities that are described in the remote neural monitoring file that literally flat out dictate to anybody that scrutinizes it that they have the ability to enter any video device, any electronic device, through RF filtering, and then compromise the internal functions of that device. Because they're into repetition. In other words, they repeat things around the target. They do that through electronic harassment and through organized stalkers they put along your path, and make you repeat what you're doing. And this is done to frustrate you because, especially since you know that you're aware of their tactics and their methods and their capabilities, their whole goal is to harass you from a distance, remotely. My name is Leslie Williams. Today's date is April 14, 2012, and I'm making this digital audio file here at one of my hiking areas. I'm a target of organized stalking in San Diego, California. The San Diego police are directly involved in this crime. They're not only they're not involved in just protecting this crime and making sure that the perpetrators that they they're part of the organized stalking, but they're also directly involved in the organized stalking. Now, but they're also a section of the syndicate, so they're not totally responsible in a sense about what's happening towards me, but they are directly responsible for protecting it. When they're needed, they're directly aid and abet in it, in reference to their particular behaviors, in reference to not taking police reports, falsifying police reports, allowing it to happen, protecting that it's happening, and when need be, they do behave directly towards me in organized stalking expeditions. And so that makes them an extremely huge player in this. They were also directly connected to what happened to me in 2006. And as a result, I had to go back to Michigan where I was literally tortured, sexually exploited for non-stop for over 5 years. From 2006, well, actually for 6 years, from 2006 all the way up until I came back to San Diego on August 8, 2011. And up to this date, April 14, 2012. They played a direct, literal, physical role in a gang stalking expedition that occurred towards me on November 6, 2006. They literally approached me. See, what I was doing with San Diego police, in 2006, I never had no direct dealings with the San Diego police except for when I went down once to the Hall of Justice to try and file a report about being stalked. And that I only saw them there. I didn't even have no direct dealings with them there. But when I did enter the Hall of Justice in 2006, right before I started taking things out of my pocket to go through the scanner, one of them did say, I don't know if it was a San Diego police officer or not, but one of them did say it was one of the individuals they used to stand there to make sure that you're bringing, no weapons or anything through the scanner. One of them said, I heard directly one of them say, she's a good one. And I didn't know what that meant. At the time, I just figured that since there was so much craziness in reference to the different types of people downtown, I took it that person meant that I'm not a troublemaker or whatever. I realized today it wasn't nothing but a coded message that they were basically transferring between employees. My name is Leslie Williams. I had no direct dealings with the San Diego police whatsoever in 2006 at all. I never approached them and talked to them about being stalked. I never said one thing to them about being stalked, but they did circle me and make me feel harassed and intimidated about being caught where I was camping at when I was about a block away from my hiking area that I was hiking at in 2006. Now understand this and be clear. On November 6, 2006, within a few days after I sent one of my last emails to specific individuals that I was emailing concerning being gang stalked in San Diego, even though I didn't know it was gang stalking at that time, but in the emails I was describing gang stalking tactics. Within 4 days of that last email, they approached me at a camping area. What they did was this. They got a neighbor to tell me that he was going to drain some water in reference to where I was staying at and that I better move or he'd call the police. So I got up and moved, and I had a migraine headache on that day, an artificial headache that they created, which they do. They also did that in Taylor, Michigan, and on multiple occasions, and they did it in Connecticut too. And they've done it here since I've been here, over at the FBI building when I was camping next door to them 150 feet away in San Diego here in 2011 up till February 22nd, 2012. Now the reason why I'm making this video file is because it needs to be understood how they played a direct role in it in 2006. And I'm making a digital tape recording on what I'm saying just in case they compromise this ability to actually video record what I'm saying, so I can then transfer it from the digital recorder to this video camera, so I don't have to repeat myself. So what I did was I moved from that campsite after that neighbor came down and said he was going to. I was staying somewhat on a hill, and there was a water hose that was running down from the neighborhood that was on the other side of the hill down the hill. And I noticed it on quite a few occasions when I was there. I was also electronically harassed at that location. And through something that was transmitted through the electronic harassment played a role in actually something I did in reference to what they were planning. And I'm going to admit that right now because it's really not that necessary. It really isn't. If it was, I would transmit it. I mean, I would, regurgitate it in reference to everything that happened in reference to these particular sections of this expedition that occurred towards me in 2006. So I got up and I moved to a second location. Since I had a migraine, I didn't move that far from my camp area. It was about not even 3 blocks away. And I went up on another hill and pitched my tent in some bushes and stayed there one night. And in fact, that particular night, I finally I was hungry. So that night, I went and I got some food at the hamburger stand that's right next door to Chase Bank, right off of Nimitz and Rosecrans Road. Then I went back to my camping area. I ate my food, and then I went to bed. The next morning I realized that I was way too close to a house. So what I did was I scoped the immediate area. I still had my headache, because people with migraines know that you have a headache for more than one day. So what I did was I took down my tent while those people were at work, and I moved it probably about 75 feet away. And once I moved it and got the tent erected and had a couple cigarettes, a San Diego police officer came down from the top of the hill and walked down and said, "What you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I was camping." And she goes, "Well, you can't be camping here." She goes, "We had a neighbor call." And I said, "Okay, well," she goes, "Where are you from?" And I go, "I'm from Michigan." And she goes, "Well, what are you planning on doing, because you can't stay here?" And then right after she said that, see, what police officers do, most police officers, they have on their waistband, I'm going to hold up my digital tape recorder to give you an illustration of it. They have a radio. And on her radio that she had on her waist, I directly and literally heard someone transmit, it was a dispatcher, say, "It's okay," it was directly along the lines, "It's okay, we've corrected the situation, the stalkers are gone now." Okay? Now that, while that was going on, no electronic harassment was heard. And at that time, I didn't know it was electronic harassment. I just figured it was people that was stalking me to my location, wait until I got into my tent, and then would talk. And then since I was out in the open, I figured it was just people that came around and were talking from a distance. If you view the NYC Chronicle videos and listen to some of her videos, she talks about when she first started hearing electronic harassment when she was in the hospital, she thought it was just the night shift talking outside of her door. Well, this is the same type, and this is what they did in my apartments in Dearborn, Michigan. I thought it was just people on my stairs and the people below me, even though in part they did do that at times, because one time they fell down the stairs. And then ran back into the door that was the entrance to their apartment downstairs. They did that in 2 apartments in Dearborn. So as a result of hearing that, having the migraine headache, having to move again, not knowing my way around in San Diego, because I was only in San Diego 34 days. And the only time I lived in San Diego before that was way back in 1983 up to 84. And when I was living here as a military wife, we never really went anywhere. Okay, I was a housewife back then. I worked at Taco Bell for a little bit, and when I went to, because I'm a good woman, okay, so my whole life has been basically, in reference to San Diego, has basically, when I was out here in 83 and 84, was to go to work, make sure I come home in time to have dinner ready for him, we'd sit around, watch TV, go to bed. Okay, so we really didn't do nothing when I was out here between 83 and 84. The only reason why I pitched my tent at Rosecrans and Nimitz was because it was right up from the road from the sub base that he was stationed at. That was the only way. That's how I remembered because I knew the bus system ran back and forth in San Diego. So that's why I made sure when I came in 2006, I remembered the road, Nimitz Road, because I used to work at the Taco Bell right over there. That used to be over off of Nimitz and Rosecrans. And the way I was able to remember the name of those two streets, because I'm right brain because I got dyslexia. So people with had dyslexia think in pictures, okay? And you can look at the book, A Gift of the Gift of Dyslexia, to understand that, and another book called Right Brain Children and Left Brain World. So as a result of not being out here again from 1983 and 1984 up until 2006 when I came out, the reason why I remember the names of those streets is because Nimitz Boulevard gave me a pictorial representation of the battleship, the Nimitz. And the reason why I remembered Rosecrans was because Rosecrans has a pictorial image, Rose. So I remembered it. So when I came out here in 2006, I remembered where I was at in reference to where I had been before when I was out here in 83 to 84. So when I came out here in 2006, I figured at least I knew that area, and at least I knew that the buses go in that area, and I remembered that it was somewhat of a safe area, because I had never been bothered by strangers or the business community at all in 83 and 84. So I had an idea that at least that area was safe. So that's why I went to that area. Alright, I'm going to stop this. But as a direct result of having a migraine headache, already having to move once while I got a migraine, being gang stalked, even though I didn't know that gang stalking was what was happening to me in 2006, being harassed along my routes on a daily basis, strangers coming up to me and asking me where I live at bus stops and stuff like that in 2006, being asked to move by a neighbor. He said he was going to call the police. Then I moved to the second location and the police arrived and say a neighbor called them. And then what I heard over the radio, on top of having a migraine, okay, you can't move anywhere when you got a migraine. Trust me. You don't even feel like walking or standing up. All you want to do is lay down. And I was also being influenced to go back to Dearborn because I was still under the mentality that if I just give in, everything would be all right, because that's literally how they programmed me in Michigan, that if I just gave up, everything would be okay. And what we got to remember here is that I did not know about gang stalking back then, and when this torture campaign started towards me openly, it started openly by people who had entered my life through overt and covert means, and I didn't realize how much they were involved in it, literally up until 2007, 2008. Because they were only showing me specific behaviors. What they did was they basically conditioned me to be gang stalked by people I did not know, and then while creating the homelessness, and then having me run to the people that had entered my life through friendly means. And they kept shuffling them around. Because when I noticed that one person was doing things that might be connected to it, what they would do in the midst of it was give me phone numbers of friends of theirs. Okay, so it's a long story, but to make a long story short, they were shuffling me around, playing a shell game, because the whole goal was to get me to move in with friends of theirs, get me to pay them rent. Then they would stage an incident to cause me to want to leave, or have to stay there and continually be harassed. And so I seen that I was continually being harassed in the places they were setting me up in. So I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I'd leave, but they wouldn't return my rent. They got $400 to $500 from me on multiple occasions in Dearborn, Michigan, on multiple months. This happened to me over 12 times in Michigan. And that's what the whole scheme was about, was to get me to create the homelessness and get me to go from one place and the next place. They advertise, you can come here, I go there, I pay rent. Then they start the expedition in the home to get me to want to leave, but I can't get my rent back. Then they throw me back out into the hands of the gang stalking along my path while I'm being electronically harassed everywhere I go, including at my campsites. And they also conditioned me to believe that if I just called 911, I could get all kinds of services at hospitals. And this was all for neural conditioning, so they could then stimulate what was neurally entrained on later dates to get me to go back to the hospital. And that's where the Medicare fraud played a role in it, and the false mental diagnoses. And they were hoping to use those at a later date for containment, to take over my Social Security, to exploit my Medicare in the same fashions, and for sexual exploitations. This is about organized crime, syndicated run group homes, and this is what they do. Okay, Google 4 mentally disabled individuals kept in a basement in Philadelphia for 11 years. And these are the kind of schemes they use and the type of people they use to get you to go from one place to the next. So as a result of what I heard over the dispatch, between that and everything I was dealing with, and how they affected my health, the migraines, and how they were having me gang stalked here in 2006, I believed it. I believed the stalkers were gone because I wasn't hearing electronic harassment that morning. Yeah, the morning right before she approached me when I woke up. And so between not hearing the electronic harassment and hearing over the radio that the stalkers were gone, I figured, well, maybe this is all over with and I can just go back to Michigan. And that's what I did, and I was tortured for 5 years. This is literally the schemes they did and brought about towards me to get me to go to another place. My name is Leslie Williams, San Diego, California. It's a nationwide syndicate. Go to Google and type in a gang stalking tech, everything you need to know. You'll flat out see that he mentions that it's a nationwide syndicate. I'm going to stop this particular video file to see if it took. My name is Leslie Williams. Today's date is April 14, 2012, and this is literally occurring towards me at this hiking area I'm at right now, the electronic harassment. Alright, I'm going to stop this particular video file. Make sure you look at the YouTube video that's in the... It didn't take. That's the same amount of video time. Alright, make sure you look at the YouTube video that's in the comments feature of this one. for the continuation in reference to what has been described in this particular video. This video didn't turn out the way I really wanted it to, but I'm going to go ahead and take it and put it up and YouTube it, but what's important for you to understand, please make sure that you listen to the YouTube videos that are in the comments feature of this one, because they're going to describe to you more of what was happening to me in 2006, who was playing a role in it, including the Point Loma library staff, security staff, and people that were coming in behaving as patrons. Excuse me. And then you're going to be able to thoroughly see why and how these schemes are set up, who plays a role in it, the fact that it's a nationwide syndicate, and what electronic harassment's all about. My name is Leslie Williams, San Diego, California, April 14, 2012.